long time no see. Not that I have a huge amount of subscribers, but it has been over a year. I want to say close to a year and a half since my last podcast. My name is Heather, and this is Knitting in Paradise, which the title of this podcast is actually one of the things I want to talk about because it's going to change because so much has happened since the last time I podcasted. One of which is I moved back to the States from Guam. And I started this podcast in Guam, where my husband, who's in the military, and I lived for 3 years. And that's where my obsession, of all places, my obsession with knitting began. I talked about how I started knitting in my first episode, so I won't go too much into it, but my true obsession really kicked off about 2-3 years, I can't remember if it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and I've never looked back. And anyways, so I'm gonna have to, I moved to Connecticut from Guam last summer, and you know, no offense against, you know, people who are from Connecticut who are or love Connecticut. I love Connecticut, but I wouldn't consider it paradise. Certainly not in the way that Guam is paradise. Guam is, you know, 85 degrees year round, sunny, beautiful, occasional rain, occasional tsunami, but palm trees, beautiful beaches, warm water, beautiful tropical wildlife. And so anyways, so if I'm going to continue to podcast, I'm probably going to have to rename my podcast. But for right now, it's Knitting in Paradise, and welcome back. And if this is your first time, thank you for joining me in my little corner of the internet. There's a couple reasons why I stopped podcasting, and a couple reasons that I restarted, which I'll talk about. One of the reasons I stopped podcasting, and this is, I'm not going to say anything new, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here, but it's very common right now. There was a lot of people turned off by the whole thing that, you know, the elephant in the room. Well, it's not so much the elephant in the room anymore. It's out, and we're all talking about it, which is great. But the thing that's happened in the knitting community that has really put a black cloud over this wonderful crafting goodness that, you know, that we got into to begin with for. And when it all started, I'm fairly new to Instagram. I'm fairly new to the social media thing, because I think I'm just in that age group that it's just kind of slow going, getting into new things. So when it first happened, I didn't really get all the ins and outs or all the details. Here was my experience. I had just discovered knitting podcasts, so I was basically in the middle of binge watching the really popular ones. I won't name names or anything, but I was watching one in particular, super, super popular, super fun to watch, at least at first. And they referenced this whole thing that was going on, and they referenced Maria Tuscan, and the things they mentioned about her sparked my interest. I'm like, what is this woman doing? Is she hosting KKK conventions? Is she having public hangings? What is she doing that is causing, oh my God. So of course my, you know, rubbernecking nature, I guess, I immediately went to see what Maria Tuscan was doing that was causing all this, you know, ado, and went to the specific video that they referred to, and I watched it, and I watched it, and I watched it, and I kept waiting for the horrible things that she was accused of doing to happen, and it never happened, and I'm ashamed to say that it made me second guess myself. Like, what am I missing? What am I missing here that this woman is doing or saying that is making people cast her out, basically, as a white supremacist, Nazi, all those things. I'm like, am I missing it? Am I so out of the loop, so, you know, just not getting it. And so I second guessed myself. And since I was second guessing myself, I just basically took a step back. Of course, I wish that I had dug more into it and did a little bit more investigating and digging to realize what was actually happening. And the people who are still watching know what I'm talking about. And what was actually happening was a bullying, and it was basically bullying for profit when you get down to it. Basically all she said, and I'm paraphrasing because I watched it over a year ago, basically all she said is, this whole thing that's going on is making me uncomfortable. I'm taking a step back. And she just got, I don't even know the accurate word, but she was bullied. Her business was hurt. She was emotionally hurt. She was, you know what happened to her. Anyway, and so it really, and then, you know, of course I heard other things that were going on, and I just didn't know what to make of it. And so I took a step back too. And it's not like I'm an influencer of any kind in the knitting community. All I am is a knitter. And I started a podcast because I wanted to reach out. I loved the whole community of the podcasting, and reaching out and having people who don't have access to certain things, to be able to, you know, turn on YouTube and connect with people that have the same interests that they do. And so anyways, I'm not an influencer of any kind, but I did take a step back and I stopped podcasting, and because I felt like, well, I've already explained how I felt like. Anyway, but I restarted, and here's why one of the reasons why I restarted. Probably for a few months now, I've been considering podcasting again, and, you know, life gets in the way, and I just kind of go back and forth. Like, you know, I have 5 subscribers, you know, nobody wants to hear what I have to say. You know, I went along those lines of thinking to, you know, of course, life is busy, blah, 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 you know, and, you know, a lot's happened in the past year. Again, I moved from Guam to Connecticut, you know, that a lot of things, all the things that entails, you know, getting a new job, and, you know, and so, but anyways, then one day, probably it's been a month now, I'm scrolling looking for new podcasts to watch, and I see the headline, or the title of a podcast that says "Dismantle the Knitting Cult." And that immediately got my attention. And so I watched that. And when I watched her, oh, of course, that was Nancy from Round Rabbit. And I watched her and I said, this woman is articulating the thoughts that have gone through my head, that I just didn't, I don't know, that I just couldn't get out on my own. And I was just hallelujah-ing her, listening to her, you know. And again, her politics are not exactly, I agree with some of her stuff, I disagree with another of her stuff as far as her politics and everything, but what she had to say about what happened to Maria Tuscan and Nathan the Sockmatician was spot on. It's been bullying and bullying for profit, and I'm totally in agreement with Nancy on those things. And then of course she referred me to Blue Mouse Knits. Listen to her, what a wonderful, incredible young mind she is, and she was to the point and spot on. If you haven't watched her video, I think it's titled "What's Wrong with the Knitting Community" or something like that. Watch it. And so that inspired me. I immediately sent Nancy a DM basically saying, you've inspired me to, you know, do a podcast, because I absolutely love doing it. And I just needed that extra inspiration, and she did it. And I told her I was going to do it today, and here I am a month later. You know, I can give you all kinds of excuses, like life happens, I was having technology difficulties, I was, you know, having organizational difficulties, whatever. But I finally found the time and the mental space. You know, I also wanted to compile my thoughts and contrary to what it might seem like, I did kind of compile my thoughts and organize them in such a way where I can finally sit down and get them out. So anyways, that's the main inspiration of why I decided to repodcast. Thank you, Nancy, for speaking up. You might not have been the first, but you certainly were one of the most powerful as far as what you said. And thank you to, and I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. I haven't finished binge watching your podcast, but Blue Mouse Knits, thank you for what you said. And I just want to, like I said, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. I don't have anything different to say, but I want to stand behind the people who are saying it in agreement. And the thing of it is I don't have really anything to say to the bullies themselves, because there's no external factor. There's nothing I can say or anybody else can say that will make them reflect on their choices and their decisions and what they're choosing to do and the methods they're using. That's going to be on them to take a look at themselves. Who I do want to speak to are all the people who maybe maybe weren't so direct in the bullying, but if someone were to just send you a message or say something or pick up the phone and call you and say, hey, this person is a racist or whatever, insert your own derogatory term in that blank. This person is anti-whatever, this person is negative whatever. You should unfollow them, and you should not talk to them, or you should not be friendly to them, or you should this, that, or the other. And you, without doing any kind of investigative or thinking on your own and just go along with it, you're the bigger problem, I think. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be like in your face, but that is the bigger problem. That action, that behavior, that's the danger of the whole bullying culture, is the people who just decide to jump on and not think for themselves and not find out facts for themselves and not use logic to determine their actions and behavior. Take a look at yourself. Another thing to consider is when you disagree with somebody and that person reacts emotionally, specifically with anger, think about that. Think about someone who is not willing to have a conversation with you and how they behave to a disagreement of some sort. Another thing to think about is the difference between reason and logic versus feelings. We all have feelings, and there's going to be disagreement there. And disagreement is okay, but how you feel isn't what... And I'm not trying to say your feelings don't matter. Feelings matter, but not as it pertains to an argument, really. Reason and logic is what matters in an argument. And so take care in when you are arguing a point. Where does it come from? Does it come from your feelings? Okay, that's okay, but that shouldn't be what determines your argument. The other thing is, if you're not, you can have all these beliefs, and we all do, and that's great. But if you're not willing to take a look at those beliefs and investigate the possibility that there's flaws in them, then you don't really stand up for your beliefs as much as you think you do. And you don't care about them as much as you think you do. So really a commitment to what you believe in lies in how open you are to take a look at them and see where they come from, and have the courage to take a look at your own beliefs and pull them apart a little bit. I'm not saying, disbelieve what you believe in now. I'm just saying take a look at them, and investigate how you argue them. Because if it doesn't come from logic and reason, you don't really have a leg to stand on. Moving on. Okay, so with that being said, everyone is welcome here at this podcast. Your disagreement is welcome here as well, as long as you can argue with respect, in addition to logic and reason. You are welcome here. Let's talk about what I hope you're here for, and that is some knitting. So much. I've knitted so much since the last, and obviously I'm not going to fit it all into this one episode, so I'm just going to talk mostly maybe a couple of finished objects, the couple of whips I have, and I think I'll talk about my Vogue Knitting Live experience and what I got there. So let's do FOs first, and I'll talk about the one that I'm wearing, which I absolutely love. This is called the Lattice Top, I believe, by Pearl Soho, and I'm not going to get all the names right. Forgive me, I've got notes here, and I will try to get it right. So cap sleeve lattice, that's what it is. Cap sleeve lattice top by Pearl Soho, and I'm just going to stand up so you can see it. Now get a little close so you can see that gorgeous hedgehog fibers yarn. Just beautiful. There's the back, pretty simple. I did it somewhat cropped. A lot of times I don't have the body I used to about 15 years ago. So most of the time I'll wear like a little tank top under here just to kind of cover that. But I love a crop style. And then of course the lattice up top. And what I use, I'm going to refer to my notes. For this lattice part, this lace part, which was super easy, super fast, was a Barocco Mantra, which is, let's see here, Barocco Mantra, which is, it's 100% silk. Super, super reasonable considering that it's silk. Very easy to work with. I believe I used, I don't know if they have, it's just the natural color. So just the natural. And then the hedgehog fibers was, let's see, the Merino DK, and I used that in the Sage. And really easy construction, super fast knit. I keep looking at my picture to make sure I'm not making any weird faces, and that ship has sailed, I think. I make weird faces when I talk, but I want to talk to you, so I'm trying to look right into the camera. So forgive me if I look over here to check myself. But anyways, still new, episode 3, what can I say? Anyway, easy knit, super fast. You basically knit up, you knit it flat, up the back first or up the front first, I can't remember, and then you go over and you seam up the sides. Super easy, I love it so much. It's still a little cool to wear this outside. It's March. Oh, by the way, we're in the middle of, that's another reason, a good reason why I was able to find the time to start podcasting again. We're in the middle of the lovely coronavirus drama of 2020. So, anyways, I'll talk about that later if we really need to talk about it. I mean, it seems like that's what everybody's talking about. So let's talk about something different, knitting. Anyway, it's too cool outside in March in Connecticut to wear this outside, but I have it nice and toasty inside, and I wanted to wear a finished object to show you guys. And I'll just show you one more time. Oh my God, beautiful. Seamed up the side. You can kind of see it, but not so much. I did not alternate skeins, and I love the way. I haven't done that yet. I'm going to. On my whip that I have now, I'm probably going to need to alternate skeins. But anyways, I love it. It's beautiful. Oh, free pattern, by the way. So if I haven't convinced you to hop on over there and download that pattern yet, maybe the free is a... Anyway, free pattern, Pearl Soho, love it. Speaking of Pearl Soho, my husband and I went to New York City to a concert, I think November, must have been October or November, and I said I cannot go to New York City without going to at least one of the yarn stores, and I went into Pearl Soho, and it was amazing. I might put in a picture of just darling shop. I'll actually show you a couple of things that I bought from them, because it's going to be in one of my future projects that I'm going to share with you. Anyway, bought some yarn there, bought a cute little pair of scissors there. Wonderful little shop. The next thing I will talk about is one of my episodes, I think in one of the first or second episode, I talked about I was working on the V-neck boxy by Joji Locatelli, which was my very first sweater, and I absolutely love it. Of course, I made mistakes up the yang, but I love it, and it turned out great. And I can't remember if I talked about my experience with it before, but just real quickly, it was my first sweater. I did gauge swatch, but somehow it still turned out real well. It's not too big where I can't wear it, but there's a ton of positive ease. The sleeves are a little tight though, but again, I can wear it, and I do wear it, and I love it, but it's not perfect. And I learned a lot from it, and it's such an easy first sweater pattern, I have to say. Really easy to follow. Of course, you all know Joji Locatelli's stuff. You know, who doesn't love her stuff? I'll pop in a picture of the finished object. I love it. It's beautiful. Like I said, I did gauge swatch, and somehow it didn't. Again, way too much positive ease, but I love it. And yeah, I'll pop that picture in as another FO. What other FO did I want to talk about? There's been so many. So I'll just move on to whips. And I'll start by the first whip that I'm working on is, and again, I'm late to the party on a lot of things, which I mentioned earlier. So my first whip is one that so many people have done. It's the Sipila. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Sipila or Sipila by Caitlin Hunter. You know, Boylan Knitworks. We all know and love her stuff, and I love her stuff. And as a matter of fact, I love it so much that when I decided to go to Vogue Knitting Live, which by the way, I'm all over the place, sorry, which by the way was my very first knitting fiber festival, and it was so much fun. I went by myself, and I loved it. It was so much fun. And I have to tell you, when I lived in Guam, there weren't any local yarn stores there. Every single yarn purchase was done online. So how I was able to start my obsession with knitting in Guam, I don't know, because I think a lot of people get into it because of the yarn. Anyways, I digress. So when I found out we were moving back to the States, one of the first things I thought about was, I'll be able to go to a local yarn store, and I'll be able to go to one of these fiber festivals that everybody's been talking about on all these podcasts that I were watching, you know, Stitches West and Knit City and the one in Scotland, the Edinburgh, I think, or whatever. All these festivals where I was like, oh my God, I have to go. And so, yeah, so I signed up for Vogue Knitting Live like immediately when I got home. Well, when we got to the States. And I went, and it was amazing, and it was lovely, and I wish I had more pictures. I'll pop in a couple of pictures, but you know, I probably won't be showing you anything that you haven't seen, but I'll pop them in anyways. But when I decided to go, I knew, and because I know myself, that I could have easily like splurge, impulse shopped like nobody's business there, and probably bought more than I needed, more than I could even knit in a lifetime, because you know, it's just easy to do with yarn. It's beautiful stuff, and I didn't want to put myself in that position because, you know, and one of the things that not only do I know myself, but that's what a lot of people talk about on their podcasts is you need to be careful when you go to these festivals. You have to go with a plan if you don't want to overspend. You know, go with a budget, go with a plan. And so that's what I did. I said to myself, I picked, and it just so happens that the timing was such that Caitlin Hunter had a special, I don't know if it's still going on, where she said if you bought 3 patterns, you get a 4th for free. I think that was it. But anyways, I jumped right on it because I love her patterns so much that it was super easy to pick. And so I got those 4 patterns, and what I decided to do was, out of those 4 patterns, I picked 3 that I was going to, the only thing that I was going to buy at Vogue Knitting Live were the yarn that I needed to make these 3 sweaters. And that's exactly what I did. I might have bought one additional little, I know I bought a couple of pom-poms and a couple of little things that were just kind of impulse buys, but that's the fun of those things, right? If you don't do that, then anyways. So, one of the first ones that I chose was this Sushilove. I'm saying that right. And I know I probably don't have to show a picture of it because you're probably pretty familiar with it. But we've got the long sleeve version and the short sleeve version. Gorgeous. Sorry it's in black and white, but I'm sure you've all have seen it. I'm making the long sleeve version. I'm not going very far off. I didn't get very creative. I'm not very creative with color choices, but I didn't go too far off what she's done here. But I'm super excited about it anyways. What I chose for this is Barnyard Knits, which love, love, love. We've got the, and I'm sorry about blowing out. There we go. That's probably a good representation of it. This is cashmere. And you're probably all familiar with Barnyard Knits. They're amazing. This is their sock yarn, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 463 yards, 100 grams. Again, in cashmere. Super squishy, super soft, super beautiful. And then I went with all those same criteria, and this is Campfire. Really beautiful. And the thing you can't, there we go. You can see the little spots of orange rust in there. It's a really beautiful, warm, rich browns. So that's what I went with as far as my Sushilove. And I am about 10 to 12 rows away from finishing the color work. So these yarns are looking really nice together. And then, yeah, so almost done with the color work. Of course, everybody, we got our float fetishes out there. I like to see the floats. Don't think I'm doing too terrible on that. I think it feels pretty good. Don't feel like it's gonna gather. Any parts where it does look a little lumpy or gathering, I'm thinking it will block out. We'll see. And then once I start with the main body, of course the main body is going to be in the cashmere, the light. So it's going to be a lighter sweater, a lot like the one in the picture. Super happy with this. It's super soft. I really love the colors together. It's my first color work sweater. So we'll see how that goes. So there's that one. The second Caitlin Hunter design that I picked, of course, this is one that everybody's done. And in fact, I probably saw in person 3 people walking around Vogue Knitting Live wearing this sweater. Do I even need to tell you what it is? And that's a Soldatna crop. I've been coveting this sweater for a long, long time. People have done really beautiful things as far as what color combinations they've chosen. Really beautiful. I mean, I could spend hours on the hashtag. Excuse me, I need to take a drink. Drinking Starbucks coffee from home. Their Ethiopian blend in my Starbucks bought cup. I swear I support small businesses, but I have my vice. Don't judge me. Or judge me, whatever. Anyway, Soldatna crop. You all have seen it. Oops, don't want to do that. You've all seen it. It's gorgeous. That picture obviously doesn't do it justice. The colors I picked, again, I'm not super creative, but I thought these would be really great. I'll show them to you together. I'm super excited about them. So, these are the... Oop, that white is getting blown out. And I haven't started this yet. This is next, going to be next. So I guess we're not in whips anymore. We'll go back to one other whip I have going on. But this is what I got. This I got at Pearl Soho. This is super beautiful. This is the Pearl Soho Mulberry Merino. 80% extra fine merino wool, 20% mulberry silk. It's delightful and fluffy and beautiful. The color is Crocus Bud. Another really great thing about Pearl Soho, their yarns are super beautiful and super reasonable. So anyways, yeah. So I got like a sweater quantity in this without even knowing what I was going to do with it. But anyways, this is going into my Soldatna crop. The other thing, these 3 I got at Vogue Knitting Live. This one is Magpie. Really beautiful stuff Magpie has. This is their Swanky DK. 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon, with the color Don't You Want Me. Really beautiful, rich. It's kind of blowing out. It's a lot deeper than that. It's a really deep purpley. There, that's I would say that's accurate of what it looks like. So really, really beautiful, deep, rich. I don't even know how to describe it. Really happy about that. This is Lola Bean Yarn Company. I'm sure you're all familiar with Lola Bean Yarns. What a lovely lady she was. She has beautiful yarns. This is her sport weight. And I want to say, forgive me, her Canary Bean, which is her support weight, which is 100% superwash merino in the color Southport. And it's a lovely speckled, there we go. It's a lovely speckled. It's got some purples and blues in there. Really, really pretty. It was really fun about this. Not only did I meet the woman behind Lola Bean Yarn, lovely, lovely lady, but Gigi Made It was in her booth when I went in there, and I, of course, fangirled out. And I'm like, am I looking up Gigi Made It? And she gave me a hug, and I got a selfie with her. Maybe I'll pop it in. Total fangirl moment. It was really fun, and that's one of the best things, if not the best thing about these festivals, is some of the people that you meet that you feel like you've gotten to know by watching their podcasts. So hopefully I didn't make it too awkward for her. I don't know if she initiated the hug or I did, and if I did and you weren't into it, I'm so sorry, as if you're watching. But anyways, it was such a thrill to meet her. She was lovely and sweet, and anyways, so that was my Lola Bean experience. So that's going in there. And then this one, this is Freya Fine Handprints, really beautiful color. This is very like a woodsy wool. This is going to be in the smaller part. I won't go into which colors. Once I get it on the needles, obviously I'll be able to show you what color is going where. I have the plan mapped out here. Yeah, I have my color 1 is the Magpie Don't You Want Me. The color 2 is the Mulberry Merino. The color 3 is the Freya, which this is called Viridian. And then the color 4 is going to be the Lola Bean Southport. Anyways, really, really, if you like the woolly wool, this is for you. I typically don't, but there's something just so, I don't know, it screamed to be in the Soldotna crop. So anyways, this is sport weight, 100% wool, color Viridian, and spun and hand painted. Really beautiful stuff. They had a lot of really lovely stuff in their booth, and it was really hard to decide. I can't remember. There was a couple other colors in their booth that I was looking at, but this one was just screaming to be in the Soldotna. So anyway, so that's going to be my Soldotna crop. Really looking forward to getting that started. And then the third one I picked was another one that everybody's familiar with, that everybody has knit or wants to knit, and that, of course, is the Novelli. And let me see if I have a good picture. I'm sure, oh, this is a better picture to show. So, there we go. Such a lovely pattern. And again, I can spend hours on this hashtag too. The color combinations that people have come up with are truly amazing. And I wish I was that creative. I just kind of pick colors that I think are lovely. I should probably take more risks, but whatever. I mean, everybody has their thing. I love admiring and getting inspiration from other people's colors. The colors I did pick were all from the same booth. Little Fox, which they had, man, it was hard to pick from theirs. They had some beautiful, and as a matter of fact, part of the reason I ended up with it, and I'm not saying ended up with, but I needed a certain amount, obviously, of certain colors, and if they were like sold out. They only had like single skeins of a lot of their stuff. For good reason. Really, really beautiful yarn, really, really beautiful colorways, really, really reasonable, I felt, for the product. And it just came down to the colors that I did pick ended up being because they had enough of what I needed. So the main color is going to be, and these are, all three of these are, forgive me while I get this. Do they have? Yeah, it's their Vixen, which is their fingering weight. Yeah, Vixen. The Little Fox Vixen, their fingering weight. The main color of the Novelli is going to be the Raven's Wing. And that's a beautiful silvery gray. Again, it's very rich. That's more to the color. Really, really beautiful. That's going to be the main color. And then the color work will be between, this is Funny Face. Ooh, that's showing super bright pink. It's not that bright. It's more of a rose color. Wow, it's really showing up bright on the camera. Nah, it's not going to catch it. But what you can see is just how beautiful it is. I almost wish it was that bright. But it's really, really a beautiful, I would say a muted bright, if that's a thing, rose color. Funny Face, that's what that one is called, mixed with, this is called Petal, and that's just a natural color. Oops, and that's glowing out, but you get it. It's a natural, there it is. It's a natural color. So that's going to be my Novelli. Super excited for that one. as well. The other whip I have, so that was my Vogue Knitting Live experience, and I loved it. And I would love to go again next year. I'd love to go every year, but what I'd like to do before I go back to Vogue Knitting Live is just go to maybe some different fiber festivals to check them out. So I'm hoping to go to, actually I don't even have a plan, but a different one, even though I love Vogue Knitting Live a bunch. Hopefully I can splice these together, but my storage just cut me off, so I had to delete a couple of things so I could finish this video. Anyway, so my other work in progress is a shawl I'm working on for my mother-in-law. She had found some knitting books that I think in a discount store or something, and she picked like six of them and sent them to me, and so gotta make her something. And I'm making her the Bogaji shawl. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but while I look that up, Bojagi. Anyways, I'll post. And it's by Knit Boop Designs, 2-color shawl, and I'm using knit picks because I asked her, I said, what colors do you like? And she said, I like reds and browns. And it just so happened that I had 2 recently purchased skeins of the knit picks. One is the Hawthorne fingering, the picnic kettle dye in Picnic, and it's a very tonal, that's a good representation of the red, really pretty red, and that is a fingering weight, and it is 80% superwash fine Highland wool, 20% polyamide, and it's 357 yards, 100 grams. Really nice, very reasonable. And the other one is the Hawthorne, the tonal hand paints, the ones they did in the Oregon colorways, which I loved. I did my Hoagie Locatelli, the V-neck boxy in this yarn, the Hawthorne tonal hand paint in. Oh, I can't remember. It's so beautiful. What's the name of it? It's Oregon based, and oh gosh, edit. Eugene. Oh my gosh, in Eugene. Anyways, this one is Grant's Pass, and it's a really beautiful rich brown, and so I'm doing the shawl in these 2 colors. Hopefully it works out, we'll see. But she asked for reds and browns, that's what she's gonna get. And easy knit, fast, if I decide to work on it when I'm not working on my Cipolla, which I'm loving, by the way. Anyways, so that's the other whip. The other things I've been doing, I've been really getting into cross stitch again. And so I've done a couple of cross stitching projects. This one was just one that I found in my local yarn shop, the Colchester Mills Fabrics, which I love having a local yarn shop. It's mostly for fabric and quilting and stuff, but they do have a yarn section. They have like small sections for other crafts. One of them is cross stitching, and I found this one, this little hedgehog, which I think is adorable. I already have it in a frame. And I'll put up who it's by. It's a, you know, mass-produced pattern. Not to snub my nose at anything like that, but super duper cute, and I framed it. It's on my wall here in my little craft room. And then the other one that I just finished for my mom, and it's for Mother's Day, which doesn't happen for 2 months, but I wanted to get it done and framed and all that, was a free pattern offered by, and I want to make sure I get this right because I thought it was super generous. I follow her on Instagram. She's got lovely stuff. Is it Tiny Modernist? Hold on. Edit. Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? Why is this not working? Edit. Oh my goodness. There it is. Okay. Tiny Modernist. Yes, I follow her on Instagram. She's got great stuff. If you don't follow her, I'm sure most of you follow her because she's amazing. She offered, I think I found it on Instagram, this free pattern, and it's well, I'll just show you because I finished it. It's adorable. She offered the free pattern. I scooped it up. I'm gonna grab it. I finished it. This. Oh my God, how cute is that? All you need is love. My mom loves owls. She's always loved owls. And so when I saw this, I'm like, oh, I'm making that for my mom. And anyways, again, I'm not very creative with the colors. These are the colors that she used in the patterns. Pretty close to it. Obviously, you can do your own color combinations, but I just thought this was super cute. And yeah, I'm going to get that in a frame. Love it. Thank you, Tiny Modernist, for offering that free pattern. Like I said, I'll put stuff either in the notes below or on the screen or whatever I can figure out. Anyway, so I've been doing the cross stitch. I have another one that I'm thinking about doing that I got as not a free download. I bought it on Etsy. I don't know if you ever watched that show Letterkenny. If you're Canadian or if you enjoy Canadian humor, Letterkenny, check it out. YouTube, hilarious. Anyways, I'll show it on another episode, but I bought a pattern that is Letterkenny inspired. Anyways, it's hilarious, and I'll show it to you later. Anyway, so I've been getting into cross stitching, when I can pull myself away from knitting. The other thing that I've been really interested in doing, and I know that it's just the industry is flooded with people who make project bags, and there's so many wonderful ones out there, but for whatever reason, this is another thing that Nancy at Round Rabbit inspired me to do. I'm not sure why, but she just did. I want to learn how to sew. I don't know. I just feel like I want to make some clothes that, I can wear in the summertime. Not that there aren't knits out there, cotton knits that you can't wear in the summertime, but, I want to wear like a lighter fabric and anyways, I'm babbling. I've never in my 50 years even put my hands on a sewing machine. I've sewn a button. Anyway, I need to wrap this up because I keep running out of storage. And so I need to figure out how I'm going to be able to record in the future and not have these pauses where my iPad basically says, screw you, lady, you're talking too much. So anyways, want to learn how to sew. I'll talk more about that later. So basically what I'm doing is keeping an eye out for what would be the best sewing machine for a beginner. If you have any tips, comments, advice, please shoot me a comment. Anyways, I'm really happy to be back podcasting. I hope to do it maybe every other week or so. I will close out for now. Thank you for watching. Thank you for spending time. Please, with all this coronavirus stuff, please be safe, be smart, don't be an asshole, be reasonable as well as being safe. Wash your freaking hands. Keep knitting, keep crafting, happy crafting. Don't be a bully, don't be an asshole. Research your shit, and I hope to see you next time.